Okay, so when executing a bulking cycle, it can be very effective in attempt to achieve muscle growth. But like anything in life, we can make mistakes, and when people bulk, people evidently make mistakes.
Yeah, I have made some pretty stupid mistakes, mate.
So today I'm going to tell you what mistakes to avoid other than eating too much and eating too little, as they are pretty obvious mistakes. So let's start with some mistakes that you might not even realise are mistakes.
Mistake number one is completely cutting out cardio. This is something that literally so many people do. I've been guilty of this before. And the reason why this is going to have a negative effect on your training is that, say for example, you're doing a high rep set with a rear delt fly. Say you're doing a 20 rep up and you've not done any cardio in a long time. You'll get through maybe half, 3/4 of the set and you're going to be blowing and you're not going to reach muscular failure. So if you quit that set because you're out of breath and not because you're challenging the targeted muscle whilst eating in a calorie surplus, you're not going to gain muscle and you're just going to gain body fat. So this is why I think it's extremely important to do some kind of cardio when you're in a gaining phase, cutting phase, whatever phase you're in. Make sure that you are doing some kind of cardio. This next mistake is absolutely massive. I don't think I've ever heard anyone speak about this. And it's a mistake that's been made by so many people, and that is when people increase their food intake every time they plateau with their training. Now, yes, when you increase your food, that might help you bust through a plateau. But is that the answer to gaining more muscle? Like if you're already gaining body weight, gaining more body weight doesn't mean you're gaining more muscle. Like if you put on more body weight, you're going to have better leverages, you're going to have more fat around the joints, you're going to be able to press more weight, for example. It doesn't mean you've got more muscle. So should people be jumping to the conclusion of just eating more food, or should we look at other factors? For example, are you sleeping enough? Are you hitting your macros? Are you getting enough micronutrients in your diet? Are you deficient in any kind of vitamins? Are you managing the volume of your total weekly workouts? Are you managing the frequency of how often you train each muscle group? There's so many factors we can look into before we just bump food intake up. Yeah, basically don't just think that increasing food intake is the answer to getting stronger and gaining more muscle. Yes, it can help, but it's not the go-to thing you should do every time. Consider all the other factors, and if that's not working and your body weight's plateaued, it makes sense to increase your food intake. But if all these other things aren't in place, don't just think that increasing the food is the answer. Mistake number three is 100% something I've been guilty of when I first started training, and that is setting the wrong goals. And the goal I set that is a complete waste of time is setting a body weight goal. You don't need to do that. The only goals you should be setting is goals in relation to your gym performance. If you set a goal, say that you want to bench 2 plates for 15 reps and you can currently bench 1 plate for 15 reps, if you achieve that goal, you don't need to look in the mirror to see if your chest has grown. Of course it will have grown. Progressive overload is the key to gaining muscle. The numbers in your training logbook are the ones you really want to change. I think that, managing your body weight where you're tracking it in the right way, if you're trying to gain, say, 2 pounds a month, like half a pound a week, I get that, like, you can track your body weight in a way of measuring progress, you can do that, but what I'm saying is that people get married to a number on the scales and they chase that number rather than their numbers in their logbook. And the numbers in the logbook, if you increase them, like I said, you won't need to look in the mirror, get the tape measure around your arms to see if your arms have got bigger when you've got so much stronger with your bicep and tricep training. You don't need to second guess it. So my advice is, don't worry about the scale so much and concentrate on your gym performance. This next mistake is going to take me about 2 seconds to cover, and that is just purely not resting enough. People think that because you're in a calorie surplus that you're pretty much invincible and you can recover from anything. And don't get me wrong, when you're in a calorie surplus in comparison to a calorie deficit or eating at maintenance, your recovery capabilities will be better. But it doesn't mean that you can train every day and not have a day off. So just make sure you're getting in enough rest days because you're not growing in the gym. Next one is regarding eating habits. It seems to be that when people are in a cutting phase or in a bulking phase, their habits are so far apart it couldn't be true. The only difference between a cutting phase and a bulking phase means that when you're in a bulking phase, you're eating more than in a cutting phase. It doesn't mean you go from eating chicken, all your veg and stuff, to eating pizzas and burgers because you're bulking. It doesn't work like that. When you're bulking, you just eat more of what you were eating. Obviously, you can have more of a flexible approach with your diet when you're in a surplus because you've got more room to have more calories, but it doesn't mean that all the good foods go out the window and then, the burgers and pizzas are just like your best mate. That kind of leads me on to my next point in regards to people's diet when they're bulking, and that is that obviously when they're cutting, like I said, your food choices are all good, and then the bulking, you know, things go south. And so what happens is people become deficient in micronutrients, that don't get enough vitamins and minerals in their diet. And if this is the case, what's going to happen is that you're actually going to feel more tired, more lethargic, and you're not going to be able to perform as well in the gym. Whereas if you're someone that's eating a clean diet and you might not be in as much of a surplus of calories, like, you're probably going to be able to perform better in the gym because you're feeling more energized. So if you are in a surplus, like, you need to make sure you're getting your fruit and veg in your diet, because if you're not, you're just not going to feel up for training, and if you are, your body's still not going to be functioning as well as like it should. So that's a handful of bulking mistakes you need to avoid. Personally, I have made some of these mistakes before, so you know, it's only human to make mistakes. That's how we learn, as cliche and as cringy as that sounds. But yeah, don't make them mistakes. If this was helpful, share it with a friend, let someone know so they can avoid making these mistakes. If you did enjoy the video as well, remember to like the video. If you're new here, remember to subscribe. But yeah, I'm going. Peace and love. See you later.